Welcome to part two, where we're continuing our conversation about Kanye West and the duality of mental health.
Specifically, when starts to become unraveled, he becomes obsessed with this idea of being a quote unquote slave. And when he says that, he means a slave to like corporations. Because for Kanye, somebody like Kanye West, he is a product, right? And in a lot of ways, he is just speaking very abstractly about ultimately what entertainers are, right? Which are these products to these corporations. And he is, I believe, correctly identifying these capitalistic structures in which there is the ownership class versus the workers. And his big issue, it seems to be that he wants to be part of the ownership class. And that's why he needs to go on these rants to get out of these contracts. This isn't expressly stated, but it's kind of implied based off his conduct and what he becomes hyper focused on right before. But the irony too is that while he is being delusional and impulsive, at the same time, he is also manifesting reality for himself. There's the part at the beginning of the documentary where he talks about, I'm going to lose my wife. That actually happens. And I'm going to become a billionaire. That actually happens. I'm going to get out of these contracts. That actually happens. And so, that's kind of what the documentarian is kind of trying to speak to is this delusional or is this actually reality? Because even you as the viewer, you're thinking this is wild, he's unstable, this is like very poor mental health. But at the same time, it's also difficult to refute his grandiosity because almost everything that he's stated has come to existence. And so ultimately, I think the documentary is speaking on this idea of what is madness and what is genius. If somebody's plans work out, they're labeled a genius. If they don't, then they're labeled a madman.
But another powerful point I think the documentarian asks us as the audience to consider is, what is more important in this life? Is it more important to be practical, or is the impracticality of being a dreamer just as worth it and just as important? So like and follow for part three, where we explore the tension between Kanye's life of the impractical versus the practical.